So I am with Mary Anne Hobbs of Six Music and a world-renowned DJ and now a curator. You can call yourself a curator of Manchester International Festival.
Easy, Hattie. I don't know if I can cope.
So tell me all about Dark Matter, which is what you've curated for MIF.
Well, do you know, when I first began this project, I was thinking back to when I was just a kid, you know, and we used to come charging up the M6, 200 miles every weekend. And we used to stand in a queue on Whitworth Street outside the Hacienda. And I have to confess that that was pretty actively terrifying at the time, because there was a woman on the door called Fiona Allen, who went on to become a very famous comedian, actually. She was in Smack the Pony. But she was brutal, she was terrifying, and we always wondered, even after all of these, you know, several hundred miles that we travelled, whether or not we'd actually get across the threshold and into the Hacienda. But those nights were completely transformative for me, and once I was inside that building, I heard music that I'd never heard before in my entire life, and it began a whole lifetime, really, of exploration of the electronic sound that you know that I love so much. And there was a kind of tangible magic in the atmosphere at the Hacienda, and I think if you were ever there, it was an experience that you'll never forget, really. So I began with that as a starting point, and I thought to myself, you know, how do you transpose that in 2017? How do you make a series of shows that feel that way, that feel really, really transformative? So that's what I wanted to do with Dark Matter.
So Dark Matter is a series of events of artists that you absolutely love on a personal level. I'm sure there's been too many highlights to be able to pick out one, but how has it felt to be able to bring something that you are, I assume, very proud of, and which has been an incredible achievement to MIF?
Oh, I mean, the opportunity that this festival presents is just unlike any other on the face of Earth, I think, right as it stands right now, culturally. It's just amazing to have this kind of canvas to work with. And what we decided to do with the two venue spaces, both of which are also on Whitworth Street, the Ritz and Gorilla that we're using, is to completely black them out and to reimagine those spaces in light. So I'm actually working with one of my favourite lighting designers in the world right now, an artist called Stuart Bales, who he paints with light, and he is reimagining those spaces in light, working in collaboration with each of the artists that are performing. So even if you're really familiar with Gorilla or the Ritz, even if you come to those kind of gigs all day, every day, as soon as you enter into this space, I think you'll feel that it's completely different, and you'll have an opportunity to experience music in a new way. Also, all of the artists that we've chosen, they're all premiering brand new work in those spaces too, so they're taking a lot of risks, and I don't know, it feels really incredibly exciting to be able to have an opportunity to do something like this, you know.
And how do you think bringing something like this to the festival is different for you on a personal level? I mean, you're used to curating playlists on the radio, you know, week in, week out, and you've got that skill down to a T. So when doing it in a live space, how does that differ for you?
I think what you get in a live space is the connection with human beings, which we all, I think we yearn for these days, don't we? Because ultimately radio is a beautiful thing in the way that it reaches so many people, but it still travels digitally. And probably like you, I spend most of my life hunkered down in my tiny office with a pair of headphones on behind computer screens, and I broadcast in the company of my producer and assistant to, I don't know, possibly the best part of 1 million people every week, but I don't get to commune in a physical way with those people. So to actually bring artists that you love and a live audience together in this incredibly creative environment, I don't know, there's a sense of feeling the Holy Grail, a sense of that reconnection with people that you don't experience in 2017, really. Not enough, do you?
Well, no, I agree. So in that space, when you are stood there, you mentioned about the audience. How does it feel to be stood next to people that have come to a gig that you've put on by an artist that, you know, maybe the audience haven't heard of, but they're coming to that show because they know and trust your music taste as a tastemaker?
It's a great privilege, really, isn't it, to be in that situation. But I've met some extraordinary people over the course of the gigs. There's one particular guy who's got an exploded kneecap, and he hasn't been out at all for 6 months. And he went out to see Hacksaw and Cloak and then told me that he was going to have to sit in an ice bath for the whole of the following day.
There you go, dedication.
Yeah, exactly. And yet the following night wanted to see Clark, the show that we were putting on at the Ritz. So I managed to arrange for him to sit on a chair right by the side of the stage so he wouldn't miss a thing, and he could still go to both gigs. But I mean, we've had all kinds of people coming out. I had a couple of people who came to see the Level show with 2 children, and they were talking to me. They said they love Kendrick Lamar, but beyond that, they don't really ever go to see gigs anymore. And actually, they'd had the best night out that they'd had in 5 years, and they felt brand new. You know, they felt like they were young again. And the feedback has been that people do really feel that these experiences are transformative, which is just fantastic. It's exactly what I wanted, you know.
And I think it is, like you say, it's such an integral part of Manchester now, and the more it goes on, the more people travel from further afield.
It's true, yeah.
How important or how significant do you think festivals and events like MIF are for the city?
I think Manchester's got such a proud cultural heritage, isn't it? I mean, it's really interesting. I did a great piece with Peter Saville recently, and he said to me, Manchester creatively stands on the shoulders of Factory Records, and Factory Records stands on the shoulder of Ian Curtis. And I thought he's absolutely right, actually. But to be able to take all of that energy and all that kind of creative spirit and all of that very rich cultural heritage, and I suppose completely reimagine it and transpose it into 2017 and still make all those connections back to the historical significance of the city. It just feels wonderful, doesn't it? It feels like this whole place is buzzing. It's so alive, you know. Everybody looks forward to it, and then he's gutted that it's 2 years until it takes place again.
I was going to say, so apart from obviously your own shows that you've been putting on Dark Matter, what else have you been to see that you thought, yeah, that is really special? I didn't ever expect to see something like that.
Yeah, I've seen loads actually. I went down today to see Carl Hyde's piece, Manchester Street Poem, and he's accommodating a building, or inhabiting, I should say, a building in the Northern Quarter, where he has transposed the stories of homeless people onto the walls of the building. He's painting them by hand. And it's so powerful, it's incredibly moving, especially when you see all around us the homeless problem in the city. To be able to understand that actually there's no such thing as them and us. We are one people. And once you begin to understand the stories that these people have to tell, you realise that actually, there but for the grace of God go I. All of us, I think, are just one step away really from that position. But yeah, I thought that was a beautiful, really powerful, really potent work, especially in these times. But I've been to see all sorts. I've been to the theatre twice, which I never ordinarily do. So I went to see Returning to Reims last night, which I thought was a masterpiece. And also Fatherland, again a piece that Carl Hyde from Underworld is involved with. But one of my favourite grime MCs, one of the kids from Levels, Truthos, is also starring in Fatherland. So that was the carrot for me, you know, that I thought I have to see this. But I think it is one of those places where you can dip in and out of all of these incredibly creative events and find something that you never would ordinarily experience, you know, and just embrace it. And that's, yeah, it's powerful, isn't it?
It is. So what is next for Mary Anne Hobbs? now you've dipped your toe in the world of curating gigs, putting on gigs. I mean, you're no stranger to that anyway, DJing festivals and stuff. Are there any kind of similar projects on the horizon?
I don't know, I was thinking I might lapse into a coma after this week, actually.
You just go and have a nice lie down for a couple
It's been
of
such
weeks,
hard work, but yeah, I don't know. It's interesting, isn't it? Because all of these things work so far ahead. We're now looking already about what we might be able to do in 2019. And yet for me, I find that really difficult to contemplate because the world is changing so quickly, isn't it? And I think you almost have to project into that space and think, what is the environment going to be like post-Brexit? How is Manchester going to feel? And that takes a little bit of contemplation to try to root yourself in the future somewhere. So yeah, at the moment I'm trying to find the future hat. So I don't know, have you got a TARDIS or something? Maybe you
don't
can
ask
help
me,
out.
I am the wrong person. I don't even watch Doctor Who, so I don't even know what a TARDIS is. No, I'm joking. Well, thank you so much for having a chat to me.
It's a
and
pleasure.
Congratulations, it's been awesome.
Thank you.
And all the best for the future. See you soon.